Hey, what's happening, everybody? This is Will from Phase 2 Skateboarding, and we're back with episode 2 of the Phase 2 podcast. We did episode 1 a few days ago. I was going to wait a whole week to do the second episode, but I got ants in my pants and I couldn't really wait. And so today we're going to do the second episode. As I was talking about last time, I'm recently sober from alcohol. This has been about a week and a half of no alcohol for me, and it's been easy and hard at the same time. Some things are easy, some things are difficult. I'm not finding it too hard to abstain day to day, but I am feeling a little bit more anxious than usual. I'm also not sleeping very well. So the first week I didn't really have that much problem sleeping, but a couple of days ago I started having problems sleeping where I'm getting up at like 3:30 or 4 o'clock in the morning and having to kind of pace around a little bit for an hour or so, or watch TV or I don't know, it sucks when you have to get up in the middle of the night like that, having a great sleep, and then all of a sudden you're up on something, and it just feels like since I stopped drinking that it's been a little harder to have a consistent night's sleep. It's not really every night, but it's like every other night. So hopefully that works itself out. Last episode I told everybody about my DUI story, so that was depressing. So we're going to try to get the energy up on this episode, get it a little bit more positive for you guys, because that's really the direction I want to be going in. But since it was the first episode, I wanted to give you guys a little bit of background on me. Yeah, I'm a week and a half clean from alcohol, and I left on that DUI story. And to finish that storyline off, basically, I went up to Pennsylvania to do a job in property management, renting apartments. It was very isolating, and it caused me to drink a lot day to day because I was bored, etc., etc. I got that DUI. I came out of that DUI, paid the DUI, took what was called ARD classes, which are these like, ARD is like, it's alcohol retentive something. I don't even know what it stands for at this point anymore. This DUI was over 10 years ago. But anyway, they put you in this class and they teach you a bunch of information about drinking and driving, why not to drink. Basically come out of the class and you get a discount on your fines. So I got through that ARD class and I paid all my fines, and so that stayed on my record though. My driving record, I think it stays there for like 10 years. And so that's gone, I think, now. And so I haven't gotten a DUI since then. I haven't really driven. That is one thing that changed after that, is that I definitely stopped driving drunk. I at that point, but it didn't make me stop drinking. So, I continued to drink at home. Basically, I just started to walk to the bar more, drink at home more, and it just got really out of hand. That pattern of me, I worked property management. So what that entailed for me was we owned and managed 30 rental units. And what that job description was, what my job was to, when somebody moved out of one of those apartments, I was to go in there, inspect the apartment, make sure that it was put back in rentable shape, and it depended on the condition of the apartment. So if the apartment was, just needed a paint job, that's what we did. If it needed to be re-renovated, that's what we did. We did all our own work, and sometimes, these apartment renovations would go on for months. Very stressful thing when you're taking care of all the management duties and all the contracting duties, all the phone calls for anybody's toilet, and a leak in the ceiling, a hole in the wall, any problem that you can think of being a renter was on us to come and fix it, address it. We didn't have a line of command. It was just me and one other person. So, you know, if you're sitting at table, this is the thing about real estate that I don't think a lot of people understand, is unless you have, you know, a lot of people, they don't want to pay management. But what ends up happening is that, you know, you don't end up owning these places, they end up owning you. And so in the beginning, it's better to set up a chain of command for yourself. And if I ever end up doing rentals in the future, this is what'll end up happening. You have to put some space. It's not about having an ego and wanting to sit on a beach somewhere and just like collect money, because nobody, I mean, really egotistical people want to do that, but most people that own properties, they take pride in it. Most people. I think a lot of people probably disagree with that, but you know, I've met a lot of good landlords being in the business, so maybe I have a different perspective. I'm also a renter currently. You know, we work that job and fixing up anything that's in the apartment, and then we would rent the apartment, so we would show it. I was also, you know, the guy showing the apartment and finding the new tenants, and you know, all these things. And sometimes I was alone, so I was the guy on call for absolutely everything. And it just became, after about, you know, 2 or 3 years, the stress of it started to wear on me. The stress that all of it caused in not having the right people to help me was very stressful, and I was kind of stuck in a position where I wasn't able to hire those people. I wanted to, but as just a manager, I was not the owner. I couldn't really move. That was also something stressful, is that, you know, although I had a say, I didn't feel I was being heard. So all those things put together, along with the isolation and the, you know, lack of things to do, just led me to have a cycle of drinking for probably 15 years, you know, close to 15 years, a cycle of binge drinking, maybe not drinking every night, but drinking, you know, every few, you know, 2 or 3 nights a week, but to a binge drinking point. And just not really getting much out of life, you know. Just kind of numbing in order to do the job, put the money where it needed to go, and get to the next day. And, you know, it got to a point where I think I was at my mom's house. I'm 36 now, so I was 32, I think, at the time. And I used to go to my mom's house, and I would just treat that as like my crash pad. I only see my mom a couple times a year. I love my mom to death. And when I go there, we don't do that much, though. And so it's the same thing. And I used to just be bored and kind of stuck in my emotions there. And there was a lot of things that happened when I was a kid that, you know, she still lives in the same apartment complex when I was a kid, and when I go back there, there's a couple of unpleasant things that come up in my mind, and so when I used to go there, it would stress me out. And so that would be a trigger for me to drink as well. And I drink like a 12-pack when I was sitting at my mom's house, you know. And so one night I was there, and I'm there with my new girlfriend at the time, and my mom, you know, I remember that particular trip, like getting there my mom's in Long Island, and so we drove from Pennsylvania to Long Island. And I remember getting there, like, as soon as we got into town, I was stressed out, and I asked my girlfriend, like, we need to go to ShopRite right now because I need to go and get beer. And she was really kind of upset with me, you know, like, that's what you want to do right now? We just got here to your mom's, you see her like 2 or 3 times a year, and you just want to go get beer right now? And I remember at the time, like, I got upset. Like, I actually got, like, angry, and I was, like, upset. I had to, like, spend a moment outside the car, like, I was upset because for years and years and years, I think this was actually the first time that she was meeting my mother, now that I remember. And for years, what my thing was when I get to Long Island, I pick up alcohol, I get to wherever I'm going, and that alcohol gets taken care of. So, you know, and whatever else. So, you know, bong rips all night and whatever else. You know, so that was just my mode. It was just like, go to my mom's house or my homie's house, get trashed. You know, mom's never said anything, and, you know, all the homies want to get drunk. So, nobody's ever saying anything to you. And this one time, you know, now I'm years later still doing the same shit, and I don't get the beer. So I take a breath outside the car. I realize that she's right. I don't pick up the beer there, but we get back to my mom's house now, because I think what I actually wanted to do was I wanted to get beer, and I was going to drink it in the parking lot. I think I wanted to drink beer in the parking lot and then go to my mom's, you know, just a little bit, because I was stressed out. I don't want to be like that from my mom. So I figured I have a couple Coors Light in the parking lot. This is something that my girlfriend, who is a decent, you know, she drinks properly. She doesn't have a problem. She's never experienced anything really like this before. And this is the first time I'm around somebody who's actually saying to me, stop, you know, don't do this. And so I got offended because that's your disease. Going, what? You know, what do you mean? Like, now I need to drink because you just said that to me. You know, I heard Brandon. I just listened to Brandon Novak's documentary, or not really a documentary. It's just an interview with him. It's a few years old now, but he said that, like, if you told me I needed to stop doing drugs, now I needed a line of crack. You know, I needed a hit of crack and a glass of wine just to figure out what the hell was wrong with you for saying that to me. So it was the same thing. Like, I just felt offended that anybody would even do that. Why would you question that? This is what I do. Don't question me when I'm, you know, in the zone. But something in me, like, that day was like, yeah, she's right. So I didn't get the beer right then. Didn't drink in the parking lot like a degenerate. She got me to stop. I get to my mom's house. I cooled it for a little bit, and then at some point I went out and I got a bunch of beer. I think it was a 12-pack, probably, yeah. 12 of Coors Light, because I think that was what was on my mind the whole drive there. Went and got one of those, polished the 12 beers off within, I don't know, a couple hours of sitting there with just her and my girlfriend. They were just trying to have a nice night with me. I drink all those beers, and then, you know, probably half an hour, 45 minutes goes by, and I'm like, man, I could sure use some more booze here. So I go into the fridge. I think there was a couple of other random stragglers in there from probably the last time I went there. So it was probably beers that were freaking, you know, 6-month-old beers or ciders or whatever. Finish those off, right? And I'm still good. Probably I probably had, at this point now, approaching 20 drinks, give or take, because I had the 12 pack, then I had 4 or 5 stragglers in there, and then I had the 4 or 5 stragglers in the fridge, and then I started to look for. So my mom had a little bottle of wine there, you know. So now I'm hitting my mom's wine that she has for her little half glass of wine that she'll have once a month, you know, to enjoy herself with. Now I'm going into that. And I'm grabbing my mom's wine. I'm pouring glasses of it. Probably 2 glasses of wine in. I'm in the kitchen. I'm doing dinner. And this is just like a random moment that's just caused this epiphany. She goes, "Don't you think you've had enough of that?" And I don't know, like it was just about her and my girl saying it in the same day. That was like, you know, me being the guy. It like reacted. It like sparked that old person in there that knew this was stupid and knew, like, I don't want to be like this. I don't want to be drunk like this. She's right. She's right. I didn't even get mad when my mom said it. It actually just made me stop. Because my mom was actually real easy on me growing up. She watched me drink. And she watched me do stuff. And I don't blame her for it. She was just trying to be the fun mom. But, you know, she never said to me, you know, she said don't drink and drive like any parent would. But she didn't get on me like, you think you should be getting a bottle of vodka at 19? You know? You think my mom was the type of mom that as long as I was doing it at her house, that it was okay. So, you know, say what you will about that kind of stuff, but I love my mom, and you know, I don't blame her for my habits. So after she said that, I think I might have finished what I had in my hand, and that was the last drink I had for 2.5 years. Those words that she said, "Don't you think you've had enough?" was strong enough and stuck with me between what she said and what my girlfriend said and what I was already thinking but didn't know it yet. You know, that gave me strength to coast soap, like not do the work. I didn't do the work the first time. That's why I relapsed. I think that's my opinion. I didn't do the right work on myself. And I had a few other things, like I deal with chronic migraines and I have chronic anxiety, that I had to treat both of those things that I never treated properly. Like I treated them with weed and with booze and whatever else. You know, that's what I was trying to treat. I had all these weird feelings from the migraines started in my 20s. But I didn't realize that. I just thought I was going crazy. You know, I got these headaches, but I didn't know anything about chronic migraine. Later on, my mom, another fun piece of information she tells me is that these migraines run in my family. And I've been being driven crazy by these things for 10 years, and I didn't know that. So I didn't go get the proper treatment. I thought I was just sick all the time or whatever. But turns out it's a chronic condition. Now I've been treated for it for a couple months now. It's almost gone. Went to a neurologist. It's almost gone. She's treating me for my anxiety and my headaches. And now it's like 90% good. I got 10% left to deal with, but that's small enough, man, where I don't feel like I want to go out and be drunk. Physically, I'm still craving alcohol, though, and that's not really fun. But I'm sure that, you know, over the next week or so, that's going to get better. As I hit like a little bit over the week mark, I actually had a day where I felt the euphoria of the sobriety a little bit, and I started to get like these positive vibes going. So I was like, wow, I actually starting to feel this now. Because before, like I said, I kind of coasted through my sobriety where I just said, as long as I'm not drinking, it's good. You know, it's good. I don't have to think about it. Just don't think about it and don't do it. But it's actually the opposite, where you got to get up in the morning if you want to stick to it and you gotta have a little bit of a, however long it is, whether it's 5 minutes or whatever, you gotta just think about your sobriety for a little bit. And that's a little bit why I started this podcast too, was because I had to talk about this a little bit here in the beginning, just to keep myself on track. So I appreciate you guys listening to my rants. And again, hopefully this rant will help somebody at some point, even if it's just one person. That's awesome to me. Even if one person, even if they don't like it or subscribe to me, doesn't even matter to me. That's not what I'm doing this for. I just want to help people. And if you want to like and subscribe, that's great too. I got through the 2.5 years, but I was still doing the job I was doing. I was kind of making plans to get out of it, but I hadn't made like real moves yet. And so the sobriety, though, it helped me to understand the shit that I needed to do to get there, though. And if I hadn't quit drinking at that point, I wouldn't have been able to calculate the steps that I needed to take to get out of that position. So basically, I told my partner to sell the business. We're going to sell the business. I don't want to be a part of it anymore. I realized how toxic that it was for me. I was stuck in a place in my life, and I wasn't moving forward. And I realized that the alcohol had been blinding me from all the decisions that I really needed to make. And I kept drinking because having to make those decisions and be strong and have to make sacrifices and restart again at 36 was super scary. And the more your life goes along, the more scary restarting gets. But being sober made me realize that the youngest I'm ever going to be is right now. And whether I'm 36 or 56, if I'm going to change my life, I got to do it. So I told my partner, let's get rid of this thing. We sold. It took a little bit of going back and forth. I moved to New Jersey. I got an apartment, which we're in now, and I took a little bit of going back and forth to Pennsylvania, but I started going. I was now living in New Jersey, so I'd freed myself up a little bit. I worked a couple of different jobs. Like, I put my resume out and did a couple of different management jobs. I did a storage management job, and I did a construction job where I did customer service for like a home builder. But I also continued to do the property management with this original business on the side, and I realized that all those things plus trying to maintain the sobriety was getting a little rough. So I scaled those things back to just doing the property management, continued to help until we were ready to sell both buildings, and we sold them. I thought that selling those buildings was going to be the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I wanted to get out of that area so bad. I wanted to restart my life so bad, and that was such a wish for me for such a long time, just an urge to just leave and get out of there. And now I'm sober, and I have every opportunity to leave, and now I'm super frightened of everything. Now, as I'm leaving, all the stress from everything I've dealt with while I was up there, and everything pretty much that I've been dealing with alcohol for this whole time just started to come out. And I gave myself, I think it was my birthday. It was my birthday. We had just sold these buildings. I was like trying to trick myself that I was being, that I was happy because of this or that, but I hadn't really done any real work on myself. Like, as I said in the last video, I had a lot of repressed anger and anxiety that I just didn't work on at all, that I had even before I went up there. So it had just compounded, and I was just in this really dark place, but trying to smile off and just, act, and I was dealing with those chronic migraines that I talked about as well. So all this stuff coming in on me at one time, not knowing really what to do for the migraines because I was on also a medication that was kind of masking the migraines, was treating them a little bit, and I didn't know that, so I didn't have them for quite a bit. I stopped doing that medication and they came back. So that was after I had stopped drinking. I stopped doing the medication like halfway through that. And so a year after that medication wore off, now I'm even worse. Dealing with the headaches and all this other stuff, probably like every day, every other day. So my birthday comes up and we're sitting there and my brain decided this is the day. And so I said to my girlfriend, listen, I know I haven't drank in 2.5 years. You're like a lawyer when you want to convince somebody that you're going to drink. Like an alcoholic, I became a lawyer because my girlfriend is an attorney. And she let me drink. After I laid down this argument, I said, this is my birthday. I said, listen, this is my birthday, and I just sold the buildings, and you know we just sold these buildings, and you know I'm relieved, and I'm just glad to be starting over, and like I think I could drink now. I think now that all that stress is gone from that was the only reason that I was being bad. That was it. That was the only reason. You know, so I convinced her that this was, you know, plus I'm sure she wants to have a glass of wine with me. I'm not really an angry drunk. I don't get belligerent. I'm not unhappy really. I'm not, like, you know, I'm not that kind of person. I'll start throwing chairs around and starting fights. I like to drink because it makes me feel happy. So that's my problem. And that can also almost be, it's like a worse alcoholic because there's no negatives. I'm just like, yeah, just drink. It's fine. I go out and I get a bottle of red wine. And that was the first one. I finished that bottle and I continued for an entire year. I started this channel a year ago. I was sober when I started the channel. My skating was, I was off my skateboard for 10 years. What brought me back to skateboarding was that initial sobriety at 32. That 2.5 years at the, I think the 1 year mark, maybe 1.5 years, I picked up the skateboard again. I skated for 1.5 years. This was after 10 years of no skating. I skated for 1.5 years. I got all my basic tricks back. I was getting clips. A lot of them are on this channel that you guys will see. It's basic stuff. You know, at this point I'm a skateboard hobbyist, but I love the sport. I love the sport. I love the lifestyle or sport, whichever one you want to call it. I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's art, I think it's lifestyle, and I think it's a little bit of sport. And I think all those things at one time are what makes skateboarding beautiful. And so when I came back to it, it was like, man, what was I doing? What was I doing? You know, it took me 2 days to learn a kickflip again. And then, you know, I worked hard on getting all my flat ground back. And I said, you know what? I finally want to start this YouTube channel. Let's do it. Let's just start doing little clips and throwing them up. I didn't even really know what I was doing, but I know I always wanted to do a YouTube channel, and I always liked, you know, when I was a kid, I loved to film and edit the videos, and I used to film with my little Hi8 tape and go around with my little skate crews and make little videos and put them on little CDRs and watch them on the computer or whatever. Those things used to play on DVD players a little bit. So I'd rip like skate videos, and I just loved it. So coming back into this, it just gives me something to be passionate about. But I know that none of those dreams are going to come true from drinking or being an alcoholic. So this, you know, the skateboarding kept me away from drinking for a while. But again, there was things I figured, oh, well, now I got skateboarding. That's definitely going to keep me away. But there's these things in the background that if you're not working on them, that they come to bite you. And that's why I said before, you got to have these mantras every morning when you wake up. If this is really a goal, And you got to think about those demons that are going to come and try to attack you during the day, and realize that that's a disease talking to you. My disease got the best of me that day when that big stress came into my heart, and then I had no other way to move, because I didn't give myself the chance of building those things. I was passively sober for 2.5 years, so I didn't give myself any weaponry for anything coming at me to not drink. And so, I broke down, and I continued to drink for a whole entire year. I don't think there was a week that I didn't drink at least twice. And I was a binge drinker, so it was at least 6 every time. And 6 was like my base. So if I had 6, I was like buzzing, But anything under that, I'm pretty much unsatisfied, and I'm gonna walk over to the liquor store again until I got that amount in me. And that happened until just recently. And then I had another moment where, I was getting cocky about it. I started getting cocky about it. I started sending friends, my brain started to rot from it again. I started sending friends pictures of my beers and me doing funny shit on my phone, and just embarrassing stuff that you don't really want to send to people or do. And you look at it the next day and you're like, man, nothing that crazy, but just stuff that you don't want to act a certain way because of booze. You want your actions to always be a reflection of you, not a reflection of the can that's in your hand. So that's the problem. My friend, I was out to dinner one night, not probably 3 weeks ago, and I'm having sushi, and I'm pounding beers, probably, had 6 in the restaurant. And I'm sitting there by myself having all you can eat sushi. And I'm texting with my buddy, and I send him a picture of my tall cans on the counter. And he texted me back a little bit, and I took a couple of things that he said the wrong way, and all of a sudden I'm fighting with my friend. I'm offended at my friend, and I'm going back and forth, and and the next day, I wake up, and he sent me, I had a few choice things that I said to him in a text message that were just me being drunk, and he says to me some very gracious things in the text message, and that he's worried about me, and that I should take a look at myself about the drinking. And this time, instead of getting angry, something in me really started to understand what was going on here. I let my disease win for a year. I was under a spell, and again, it took one of the best people I know in my life to come in front of me just a little bit and go, because I'm very perceptive of people. So even if it wasn't like, quit drinking, asshole, like he didn't have to say that. He just had, it was just, and I respect this person enough that was all they had to say. And so I'm just like, man, so, I text him back and said I'm sorry, but in my head I'm like, yep, that's it. That's gotta be it, because now I'm tearing out resources for no reason. I don't even have a reason to be upset or stressed or any of that, but I'm letting drinking now turn me in. Now I'm not a positive drinker, Now the fun is out of it. Now I'm fighting with people that love me, that actually want to see me do well, and I'm pushing them away to tell them that it's fine that I'm drinking, that it's fine that I'm doing this. Don't worry about me, because it's cool that I'm killing myself right now. And they told me what I needed to hear. And so that was not the last day I drank. I think I had one more day after that. But I think between that and we had another conversation, him and I actually on the phone, and I think that it wasn't even the fight and what he said. No, it wasn't even really a fight. It wasn't even the conversation and what he said. It was like it was the makeup conversation that we had on the phone that made me realize what good friends I have that are still there for me even after I do this shit. That made me realize that I need to make a real go at this again, and that life is worth living, and that you want to be around to see yourself and these friends that you have that are actually there for you do good in life. And so that's when I made the decision that there's no more alcohol now for me. And now this is a week and a half I've been in it, and again, I'm having a little slumpy days and I'm having a good days, but overall the pursuit of what I'm doing and the fact that I'm getting things done, I can see that I'm getting things done. The fact that I'm sitting in front of you right now is a testament to me not being drunk, because if I were drunk, it would just be me on that couch watching skate videos. This is just a totally different world now, and I'm proud to be here. So thank you guys again for listening to my bullshit, and that's probably going to be the end of my recovery stuff for a little bit. I'll probably update you guys, time to time on it and let you know how I'm doing. Every week we'll talk a little bit about some recovery stuff, probably, 1 to 2 minutes, but I'm not going to make it I want to make it positive stuff, so it's not going to be, weekly stories of me getting boozed up. That was it, and I appreciate you guys listening. Another person that I've been looking at in the skate world that has done a lot of things in the sober range is Erik Ellington, who is one of my favorite skateboarders of all time. I grew up watching him. I pretty much idolize him. I don't have too many pictures of myself, but I'll put one up if I can find one of me, because I used to idolize the dude, and I grew my hair out like him, and I used to get the big puffy shoes on with the jacket, and I had the crew fur jacket back in the day with the fake leather. And I just loved the dude's style, and thought he was a really cool guy. And it turned out, like, as I got older, I started to realize like me and this dude got a little bit more in common than I thought, because he was like a big alcoholic, and when you're growing up as a kid, like I can't say that those guys didn't influence me just a little bit in those videos to want to be like that. They made drinking, like that original Baker crew made drinking look sick. Like you wanted to drink beer and go chill on your skateboard. Like when I initially, now until you get like good at drinking though, drinking and skating is not easy. Like until you're like a smooth alcoholic, like that's not easy. So Erik Ellington though is now sober. Been sober for quite a few years now, and you can see, there's quite a few different podcasts and videos about this, so I'm not blowing up his spot when I talk about this. He's had some trouble with the law because of his drinking that he's very open about, and that he got through very positively, and I find that very inspirational. I've been watching some of his stuff along with some of Novak's stuff, because I like to watch stuff from a skateboarder perspective sometimes, like, even recovery stuff. I like to watch stuff that's like my peer group. So and now he's gotten through all that stuff. He got in a nasty altercation with a guy. Guy was like sitting at the bar with him, started making fun of his hair or something, put his arm around him, and Ellington smashed a glass over his head and ended up cutting the guy's neck. And there was a lot of problems for the guy. Didn't die, but pressed charges on him, and ended up cleaning up his life after that, because it really scared him that all this stuff that he built and has been working on for all these years as a skateboarder and a person, a father, could be taken away so easily just because you were a little drunk and some guy put his arm around you. I've had similar moments in my life, not exactly like that, and I haven't gotten arrested for them, but similar moments of anger where you do things and it could end up, you don't realize it, but you're getting charged with assault or breaking and entering or anything like that. And it was just because, like, oh, I had a couple beers in me, now fucking, everything starts to be different. So, I'm proud of Erik Ellington. He cleaned himself up and he's doing a lot of cool stuff now. I see his company, Easy Does It. He does those zero alcohol brews. That my first go of sobriety, I did that. I drank those zero alcohol brews. I don't know what you guys, people in recovery, I don't know what the true opinion on those are. I think it's like a split thing. There's some of them now that are really good, but for me, since I'm a binge drinker, I'll start drinking them. I'll drink 10 of them, so it doesn't really. And then I get through 10 of them, and I'm like, where's the booze at? So I don't know. Last time I think it was a little testy for me to drink those, and then I had a time where I felt like it wasn't a problem. So I don't know. Maybe we'll try one of those one day on here and do a review of it. But it's pretty cool stuff that he's doing. And moving on, last but not least, we have Chris Joslins Tre flip down El Toro that I wanted to talk about a little bit, that I heard happened this week. Apparently there's no footage of it yet. I've been scouring the internet. I don't see anything. I only see weird edited versions of the one that he already did where he broke his truck. I think people think it's like a Shrimp Daddy thing, and I feel like some people actually think that's real because it's like such a good edit. But that's not the real footage. If you've seen the Thrasher cover, I haven't seen it in person, but I saw it online, and it looks crazy. So I'm hoping to see that footage soon, and so hopefully I'll be able to talk to everybody a little bit more about that, since we really don't have much on it. So I just wanted to end up on that little bit of skate talk, this and that, and we will see you next week with episode 3. Thanks for watching, everybody.